Hey, soul survivors, we are going to talk about co-parenting. I also have a podcast coming up with somebody who's going to have a fascinating story on his journey with co-parenting. And sometimes some of you are even co-parenting a child that's not even yours. So that's what his story is about. But co-parenting, if we are still with the narcissist, it's a little bit different. So this one is as far as if you are separated, how do we communicate with them? How do we work out visitations? What to expect? So, when you're communicating with them, if there's too much emotion or there's too much triggering things, whether it's from their end or your end, stick to email. It gives you time to process things. You can even do it on text message, but set boundaries. I go to bed at 9 o'clock. I do not want you to text me after 9, whatever your boundaries are. Don't blow my phone up. I will, send me one text message, unless it takes two or three, but not back to back. Are you going to call me? Are you going to call me? Are you going to call me? Let them know you are not going to discuss things by phone if it's gotten to that point where you can't. Stick to that one method of communication and give them one warning, like make sure you write down this email. This is my email, the only way we will communicate. And for meeting times, let them know it should be in your court order, but let them know, look, there's a court order. I have 1 hour where I will wait until you show up. If you do not show up, I will leave. Let them know exactly what is up. You can attach files to email, such as doctor notes, school schedules. There are certain things that you will need to be responsible for. And also, the narcissist will try to get out of purchasing things that they will have a resentment. They're going to try to hurt you financially. So, you know, my take on it is, make sure your child is provided for. It's not worth fighting over certain things that make sure they have enough diapers or formula or at least two outfits. You don't have to give them a whole wardrobe for the summer, but when you're dealing with a narcissist and if they are physically violent, that you need to document things. You need to take it to the court. You need to keep your child safe. If it's a narcissist who yells or certain things like that, we have to be really careful how we handle this, because a narcissist, a lot of times we're going to try to overcompensate. We're going to be super extra loving, make sure they have absolutely everything, treated like little princes and princesses, that when we overcompensate too much, we could create a narcissist. So try to keep your child as even keel as possible, because when you offset it too much, that child is going to be on that pendulum. So even if the child is going to go through some trauma, make that pendulum less extreme. Reassure them, all the things about them that is special, and give them opportunities to grow. So when you set certain things up, it is hard to have your boundaries because you're also bound by court orders. So make sure you follow the court orders, and you can follow those to a T. You got that on your side. Document everything. And maybe you can get a change in the court order, but there has to be a pattern that the court sees in order for them to change. Also, think about what's in the best interest of the child. Every narcissist is different. Are they just a liar and a cheat, or are they physically violent? Are they sexually abusive? That certain things need to be immediately handled. And, there are ways to get documentation from the child. There's counseling and things like that. But the narcissist, if they find, and I wouldn't share anything with them. If you're like, you know what, fuck you, I'm finally dating again, you can kiss my ass. I found somebody better than you. Also, be careful with your words. We shouldn't talk that way. But some of us have anger. And if you say that, then they're gonna be like, oh yeah, you think you're going out? You think I'm taking this kid so you can go out? And they will purposely not show up. They would rather mess up your date plans than have time with their own kid. So they think in a different way. So just be aware of that. It's also better not to tell them what your romantic situation is, because oftentimes they will try to destroy it. They can make it sound like they're trying to be the hero, that you're a piece of shit, you're crazy. So the more you can remove yourself from that situation emotionally, and also the informationally, will help protect you. So it gets tricky to where later on in life you might have grandkids together, and try not to fuel the fire to where that situation is going to be where you're seen as a bad person. A lot of times a narcissist will alter your child's thinking of who you are. They will villainize you, but eventually the child should see who you are. So stay true to yourself. Try not to do that reactive abuse, because that's going to be thrown in your face. That's going to be given to your kids as evidence that you're crazy or you're a bitch or an asshole. That we really got to watch what we're doing and always maintain what is in the best interest of the child. It gets frustrating with how the courts handle it. A lot of times they do believe the narcissist, but the narcissist will often fade out. Not always, not always, but they will often fade out if it becomes too much of a hassle. I got to be there every weekend to pick up my kid, and on and on. You always have to be prepared that they're not going to pick up the child, and it's not a good way to live, because you can't say, if you don't show up this weekend, you can't see the kid again. We're not allowed to say that. So we have to understand what our blessing is. We have the child. Even if you're the visiting the non-custodial parent, that any time you have with that child is a blessing, and just enjoy every moment of it. Make it the best it can be. That is your focus. Your focus is not on the narcissist. So, there are times we have to, take things into our own hands and have the court help us. We can't play God. We can't play enforcement. That it gets difficult. It gets really difficult. And sometimes it's sad that the kids are affected, but we can only do what is in our power. So rest in your heart that you will do everything you can to make it easy transitions. Also, a lot of times in custody type things, when the child comes home from a weekend, or vice versa, if you're on the other side, that child can have some anger issues. You have to be ready for that they might take things out on you just because it's a change of routine. So don't take it personally that your kid hates you. They don't know what's going on. Like, why am I in a different house now? And they don't have a concept of time. And that's kind of like missing the other parent too. And, we have to allow our children to feel what they're going to feel and learn what they're going to learn. But keep court orders in place. Don't enable them. It's up to you if it's a safe parent. There are some people who just cheated. They're not necessarily a narcissist. Are they an asshole? They're an asshole. That we have to really be careful that we understand what our person is, because there's a difference between being a jerk and being a narcissist. everybody has some narcissistic tendencies. We all lie. And we all kind of sometimes try to manipulate so we can get our way. And, we can see it as like, yeah, I'll pay for your ticket. Let's go to the amusement park. I just manipulated you. I wanted you to come with me. I made sure you didn't have any excuses because I'm going to pay for it. That's a form of manipulation, but minor. It's like you get a bonus out of it. So sometimes we justify it, but we change the way you thought. So there are ways to make it a better situation, because we can be hardcore. No, it's got to be 6 o'clock. I will wait till 7 o'clock. But if we understand them, are we willing to budge? That's up to us. We can put a time limit. Yeah, I understand you work late. I can wait till 8 o'clock. As opposed to I'll wait for a while and you're sitting there and you have no idea. A lot of times they don't like to communicate the right way. So you're starting to be like, how long do I wait? And then if you leave at 9:04, then you're the bitch for not being there. They don't like to communicate. So you have to communicate ahead of time. Or you can tell them, look, it's supposed to be there at 6 o'clock. At 7 o'clock, I'm out. If you let me know 24 hours in advance that there's a change in plans. That way I don't have to be there at 6. I will be there at 9. It's up to you how much you work with them. But they can take things to court as much as you can. They can try to get things changed based on their schedule. Also try to see, are they working extra hours to provide the child support? And make your decision on how you proceed from there. But it's a tricky thing. It's hard not to disparage, to badmouth the narcissist, but just like with the new supply is not going to believe us if we say he did this, that, and or she, it could be a she. So our child has to form their own decisions on who the other parent is. Because if we try to force that on them, they're going to resent us and see us as taking away the love from the other parent. So if you guys could comment below on certain situations, every situation is different angles. I'd like to help you along the way. I've been through 4 custody battles over 1 child, and the court systems, psychologists, all the things that are involved, have a lot of insight. And we're not all perfect. There's things that we've done wrong, things that they've done wrong, but focusing on if the child is safe and how to keep the child as emotionally stable as possible during this time, and also how not to enable narcissistic abuse, because the narc can still abuse you. But when you set up boundaries, you're not enabling them anymore. And they're not going to like it. But they either conform or they will drift off. You don't have to budge away from that court order. That's there to protect you so you can enforce it. And unfortunately, they do have it, if they're the non-custodial parent, they have leeway. We don't have leeway. Like, oh, okay, it was your weekend, great, and I'm not showing up to pick them up. I'll pick them up in a month. We can't, if you have custodial custody, you can't do that. So it doesn't feel fair as is. But look at the blessing. You have time with your children and keep your emotional health in order and stay strong for your kids. They don't need to be involved. They don't need to be pawned between the parents. And sometimes that's hard not to do. It's sometimes not hard. See, your dad or your mom's an asshole. They didn't come get you. But the kid's going to take that personally. So let me know how I can help you. There's a lot of different scenarios that can go on. Co-parenting can happen. A lot of times it's difficult, and a lot of times the narcissist won't stick around. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they do. Hope that helps, and I'll see you in the next video. One-on-ones are available, and I'd like to do some more podcasts. I like the interview style. So if you know anybody who would like to share their story, or anybody struggling with mental illness so we can understand it more, I'm open to invitations. Please like and subscribe. See you soon.